Bonjour à tous, bienvenue, hello everyone, welcome. Aujourd'hui, on va parler au sujet des accents. So today we are going to talk about accents and what they are and what they mean and what they do. So the first one that I want to talk about, first off, is I have a little head here. And so on my head, I'm going to use it to label all of the accents in French. So the first one that we're going to start with is his little hat that's up here, and it makes this triangle. And so this is the circumflex. So this is the circumflex. And so the circumflex in French usually replaces the S. So usually replaces the S in French. The next one I want to talk about is this accent right here. And so this accent, and this accent going up is the accent aigu. And so the accent aigu is going to make an A sound, and it points upwards. If you didn't notice, it points up. So I'm going to highlight my accent that I'm talking about here. And so the accent aigu points upward. The next one I want to talk about is the accent grave. And so that's this accent right here, this line. So this is the accent grave. It might help you to know that it points to a grave. So that might be helpful in remembering what one points where. So the accent aigu points upwards and the accent grave points downwards. The next one is in the middle of our head or in the middle of our face, and my arrows are a little bit off, but it's pointing to these two little dots. And so this is the Taima. So this is Taima. And the Taima in French just means that there's two vowels next to each other. Just means that there's two vowels next to each other. The last one that we have is the Sadie. So I'm going to highlight where my accents are. But the last one is the Sadie, and that's this one over here. That's the one that looks like the second half of a 5. Everyone usually calls it the say, so the letter C, and then Sadie, because it only appears on the letter C. So this is only on letter C. All right, and this just makes it sound like an S instead of a K sound. So it makes it a soft C rather than a hard C. All right, so now that we've gone over what our accents are and what they look like, I want to talk about some examples. So the first example that we have right here is elephant. And so this is the accent aigu that's making those accents. So elephant, remember, it makes an A sound. The next one we have is Noel. And so that's the Taima, because I have two vowels next to each other with an O and an E. Next is hotel. So this is the circumflex. And remember, the circumflex usually replaces that S. So in this case, instead of hotel, it's going to be a hostel. And a hostel is just another way to say hotel. It's just a cheaper form of a hotel. Next, we have this Sadie. And this Sadie is right here. It's the bottom of that C. And remember, it makes an S sound. So instead of ka va, it's sa va. And then the last one we have is an accent grave. And that's the one that points down to a grave. So a couple important reminders. Remember that an accent aigu is only going to show up on the letter E. So accent aigu is only ever going to show up on the letter E. Only ever going to be on the letter E. It won't be on any other letters. It does make an A sound, like an école or an elephant. An accent grave points to a grave, so that's helpful to remember that it points downward. And it can appear on a lot of different letters, but mainly A's, E's, and U's. Those are the three main letters that it appears on. Next is the circumflex. The circumflex appears only on vowels, so A, E, I, O, and U. It only appears on vowels, and it usually replaces the S. So that's super important to remember. It usually replaces the S, like in hôpital, we have hospital. So we have hospital in English, but we have hôpital in French. The Taima is only going to ever appear on these three letters. It's an E, an I, or a U. And that's used when there's two vowels together. Two vowels together. And then the last one is the CCD, and that is only going to ever show up on the letter C. So it's only going to ever show up on C. And it makes an S sound instead of a K sound. So we're getting rid of the K sound and we're replacing with an S sound. So à ton tour, can you think of any words, names, or sentences with an accent? So I'm going to write down some examples that you may or may not have seen before. So I'm going to write down examples down here. The first one that I'm going to talk about is the word Francais. So Francais, and I have a CD on there. The next one that I want to talk about is the word hôpital. So we've got hospital up here. I'm actually going to choose a different one. So let's talk about musée. Musée. So Francais is French, and musée is museum. And then let's think of a word that has two vowels in it or something like that. We could think of the name. There's Zoe, that I'm sure you've seen a little bit in English before. Or you should sometimes see it written in French like Zoé with an accent aigu because it makes an A sound at the end. Or let's talk about one that uses accent grave. One that you've seen a lot before is the word très, which means very. All right. C'est tout pour aujourd'hui. That's it for today. A short, simple lesson covering accents. Remember, earlier we already talked about what those accents look like. So if you need to rewind the video, you can do that. But this part of the video just talked about what letters those accents are going to show up on, how to say them, and things that you'll usually see them on, or things that usually make you know that you should use that accent. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. C'est tout et à plus.